I went back to my notes and I looked at what one advisor had told me before the speech was that it was not a policy symposium, that it was going to be a speech that was going to be conducive to the venue of a prayer vigil. And you're right, there wasn't any specific policy proposal. There was never the words gun control uttered. There was never assault weapons ban or anything specific like that. But make no mistake, he was referring specifically to the idea when he said in the weeks ahead he would be talking to law enforcement officials and others to figure out how we're going to better protect our children. And I wrote when he said, what choice do we have? Are we prepared to say we're too powerless to do something? You're absolutely right. While they telegraphed that he wasn't going to give a policy address and there weren't specific policy proposals, he made it quite clear that in the weeks ahead, he's planning to take dramatic action on this issue. As you know from hearing Mayor Bloomberg and others this morning on the Sunday shows elsewhere, they're going to hold his feet to the fire if he doesn't follow up on that. So that will be interesting in the days ahead. Two other quick things. One, when the president was reading the names of each child near the end, and reporters inside the room are telling us that they heard weeping and heaving from adults who were hearing those children's names. That is something that sticks with you. And finally, when the governor introduced the president and said that backstage the president had told the governor that Friday was the toughest day of his presidency. Having covered him for 4 years now, and you think back to war in Afghanistan, the financial crisis that has affected so many Americans, depleted their finances, and they've struggled, the unemployed in this country, etc. And the fact that the president himself said Tucson, Aurora, Wisconsin, many other shootings. The fact that he said Friday was the worst day of his presidency tells you the depth of this terrible, terrible tragedy, Brett.
Yeah, Ed Henry, thank you. It was a powerful speech. Let's bring back our panel. Steve Hayes, Kirsten Powers, Nina Easton, and Charles Krauthammer. Charles, your thoughts?
That was a highly political speech. The bookends were simplicity itself, elegant, giving his understanding of the grief and sort of extending his condolences to the family and the nation. But the middle part of that speech was a determination of this president to act. He didn't speak about specific policies, but this was a declaration. And I think the fact that he wrote a lot of this on his own, it didn't have to go through age or interagency consideration. This is his commitment. It sounded like he's going to do something. It's almost like LBJ after Kennedy is killed, and he basically said, I'm going to be the civil rights. I will complete the civil rights revolution. This is a man saying, I'm going to do something. I hope it isn't only about gun control, but I think he was announcing something serious is going to happen, and it will come from him personally.
Nina.
Yeah, and he said we're not going to be powerless in the face of this carnage. I think what was disturbing to me out of this, which was otherwise a very poetic and indeed spiritual speech, was that there's a sense that he is going to act unilaterally. And it may be wrong, there weren't a lot of details there, but he did say that the energy is going to come from the White House. I think in order to unite this country around this, rather than divide the country, because these are all explosive issues we're talking about, you have to take it out of the heated waters of the administration and put it into something like a commission, a bipartisan commission. You have to bring parties to the table that aren't just the White House, and you have to do it from the get-go.
Kirsten.
Well, I mean, the center of the speech was, by any measure, can we say we're doing enough to keep our children safe? And the answer is no. And that just crystallizes the problem. And I'll be interested to find out what his conversations with the families were like before this speech, because it's possible, you know, Ed Henry was being told one thing, and maybe the president met with these families and heard from them that this is the type of thing that they wanted to hear. They wanted the president to step up and finally say, enough is enough. You know, we cannot go on like this anymore. And I actually didn't take away that he's going to act unilaterally. I just took away that he has really reached his end point on this issue and wants to do something. And we don't know if it's going to just be on guns or on mental illness as well.
Well, we spoke beforehand about how this could be a turning point. I think he's made unmistakably clear that it will be a turning point. He said things like, we're going to have to change. We can't tolerate this anymore. The tragedies must end. Those are not things that you can come back from. I mean, you can't go back to before that. You have to move forward. I thought he spoke very effectively, first as a father and then as a leader. I suspect I won't agree with a lot of his policy prescriptions, but it was, I thought, a very effective and powerful speech.
It was powerful. And this is a powerful time to hear those kids' names read at the end and the sobbing in that room. Well, it just wrapped it up. That concludes Fox News Channel's special coverage of the prayer service in Newtown, Connecticut.